So I have traveled a lot. So I started traveling when I was 12 years old, and I've been to like 44 countries and so on and so forth. So we'll get into it. Now, let's just pause and think for a while, right? What are certain things in life which attract you the most? One for sure, which is true for every one of us here, is the whole idea of travel. And the other exception being love, for sure. Much intense when you are young, and there are other things as well, right? Now, we look at the idea of travel not just as a journey, but we look at it as an escape from our daily routines. Not just from our routines, but the drabness of the environment and the society that's around us. Now, we all have been doing this. We all have been traveling, and we know we would continue doing so for days and years to come, right? But when we are on the road, we talk a lot about where we are going, what are we seeing, what are we doing. We never really hesitate to share literally everything that's related to our journeys on social media. But there's one little question which we fail to ask, and that is why. The entire question, why? Why do we travel? Like, what is that one thing which pulls us? I mean, nobody plans that they would go out there and travel. All of you have traveled, and it just starts out of nowhere. It's just a part of your nature, and for some people, it just ends up becoming a journey which never ends. For some people, yeah, you do it once in a while, but everyone travels. And we never really pause to ask, why do we do that? What is it? What is that one thing which actually pulls us to do it, right? Some of the experts, right, like George Santayana here, he's a Harvard philosopher and really renowned. So this is what he says about travel. He says, what is life but a form of motion and a journey through the foreign world? What this means is, traveling is not something that you do because you get a push from somewhere, but it's something which you would never really, you wouldn't live without it. It's something that is a part of you right from the day that you are born. It differs for a lot of us. We do remember the first solo trip that we ever took, or maybe the countless trips that we took with our families, right? Those are very generic things which all of us do. Maybe not all of us start traveling one day and start going into multiple countries, start counting those numbers. But yes, you all have a specific journey. It just differs from person to person. Some of them need it a lot. Some of them don't really need it that much. Now, on this basis, what George says here, we can consider the entire journey or the path to be much more important than the destination that we are in. Like, just imagine, I'm sure at least some of you have been to places like, let's say Paris, for instance, or say London, for instance. We do remember the sites or the monuments that we have seen in all of those cities, but what is it that we remember much better? Say years down the line, you would know what the London Bridge looks like. But something that is deeply embedded in you is the entire journey that you took while going out there. Think of the first solo trip you ever took. Is it the places that you saw or the monuments that you saw that inspire you? Or is it that entire journey? Okay, I overcome some struggles in order to do that. That is what pushes you. And that is one lesson which we all have. We all get it in some form or the other, but we never really look into it in a way that we should. What I have tried figuring out is, I mean, okay, I've done this for 10 years and I've still not stopped, and I don't really think I will stop. I mean, anytime I see an opportunity where I get a chance to go out there and see something new or figure out my path in a new country, it kind of excites me even today. And I know I don't think I have the capacity in me to stop, but I still haven't figured out why do I keep doing that. I'm still trying to figure out what really pulls me. And people say once you have seen life on the road, there's no going back. You would want to do that again. And trust me, they are not wrong. It actually pulls you in. It kind of draws you into, kind of makes you hungry for adventure, makes you hungry for knowledge. You go out there and figure out new things. Your entire world kind of broadens. You no longer care about, okay, exactly this is my schedule and I'm supposed to care about this specific thing day in and day out. You start figuring out new things for yourself. And yeah, it's a journey and it is tough to actually give a reason to it. The reason being, traveling has always been a part of you, as I already said. It's just that not everyone figures it out. So Montaigne said this about travel. And what this essentially means is we travel not just to escape our schedule, we travel to escape ourselves as well. When we are stuck in a society where we grew up in, where our schedules are massed, a lot of times the deeper or those important thoughts that we have about our lives are actually pushed to the back of our minds because we are stuck in a schedule. We don't have the liberty or the time to think about what really matters. And the whole idea of being idle, having nothing to do, is actually a very, very intense kind of a thought. When you are traveling, you don't really have a plan and you have a lot of idle time to yourself, which essentially brings back all of these deeper thoughts back into our consciousness. And this is the point of time when you actually face reality. You start asking questions. Why am I doing so and so in my life? And what am I getting out of it? I mean, I am running a race. I am doing the same thing day in and day out. What am I getting out of it? Maybe I'm taking up a course just because of the fact 1,000 other people are taking it up, and I know there's something which comes at the end of it. Maybe a better job, maybe a pay raise, or just give it a reason. But is it something that you really want? We never really have the chance to question all of these because we don't have the time or the liberty. Your life goes away and you end up running the race till a point of time when you don't have the liberty anymore. You're no longer that solo person. You're no longer that person who doesn't have social chains attached to you. There comes a point of time when you are actually chained to the society, not just because of yourself, but because of people who start being dependent on you. So time actually passes. It's not that you cannot do it at that point of time, but it's much, much difficult once you let them. When I said the deeper thoughts come back, right? Even I started without knowing all of these things. I never really thought about philosophy, about what traveling would do to me, how would it change me as a person, or anything and everything, right? Now, in the last 10 years or so, I've met a lot of people in the journey, and all of them have the same understanding of how it starts. Everyone starts out just because of the sheer glamour of travel, right? You see a lot of places, you post updates from 10 different time zones, which is fair enough, evident that it is going to make you shine. It is going to make you that prop in front of your friends who they are envious of. That is essentially the reason most of the guys get on the road. But it soon draws onto them, right? It very, very soon draws onto them that is something that they needed. They needed that break from life. They needed that point where they drop the ball and actually take a step back. They take a step back and try to figure out, okay, am I doing the right thing in my life? Okay, I am probably working in an engineering firm. I'm bringing home a very big paycheck. But am I really happy? I mean, money kind of, people say money can't buy happiness. It can in a way, but is it something that you really want to do? So these are thoughts which start coming onto you right at the point of time when you get on the road. And once you realize these things, you start understanding that it has always been inside you. You always needed that break. You needed that push. Of all the pieces about travel that I have read for multiple talks or for myself over the years, the best one I ever read was written by someone called Pico Iyer. And it's around 16 to 17-year-old piece that he had written. And he kind of tries to draw a line between humans as a very native form and the whole idea about glamorous travel, right? So human beings as a species has been able to put its footprint on all the land masses only because of the fact they decided to move. They decided to move and decided to move not just because of the fact they wanted to travel like we do today, They decided to move because they were looking for something better. They were looking for say, better food, better shelter. In simpler words, they were looking for change as well as opportunities, right? And what does it tell us? What does it tell us about people? It tells us that, okay, we have socialized ourselves. We have brought in industrialism, globalization, any other jargon that you want to put in here. The only thing that we have essentially done is we had a life which gave us a break. We moved from one place to other. We had a life wherein we learned something new every single time we got into a new social setting, or every single time we saw ourselves out of our comfort zone. What did we do? We literally killed it, and we started becoming social in a form that we are sedentary. We no longer move out of our cities. We no longer move out of our country. We see a job, we are happy, we just sit there. Not a lot of people actually question it. I mean, as long as everything is fine, expenses are met, most of the people would not question. They will never take that leap. I mean, life is tough. There's a lot of risks nowadays. So it's probably not the best idea as well. But we were never like that. Humans were never really built to be in one place. And that's the reason of all things that you see on social media or any other platform, which are the things which inspire you and captivate you the most? The pictures of travel bloggers or anyone who shares essences of exotic places or anywhere on the road, they instantly capture you. They instantly get your attention. Why? Because there's always something inside you which wants that. You don't realize it. You don't even question it for a moment. But yes, that is something which has been able to attract you right from the day that you were born. Now, our travel opens us up to a lot of experiences. If you read through what this says, in simpler terms, what this means is traveling brings you face to face with a lot of challenges. And it's not really easy to go out there in a new city without a plan. I am not talking about buying a tour package from SOTC or something, which literally gives you the tickets, the hotels. You get Indian food in all the places. Like, seriously. You go to Paris and you get an Eiffel Tower ticket with tandoori chicken. Like, seriously, what has it come to? So when you're being taken care of like a baby, you're not really traveling. So I'm talking about going out there, going to a place and figuring out the whole thing for yourself. It brings you face to face with so many challenges, and that is the point of time where you come face to face with your conscience. And that is the point of time where your judgment calls come into play. That is the reason people say they find their calling, they find a reason in life while on the road. Most of the entrepreneurs will give you a story which will include at least a small bit of travel in that, because they have the time and liberty to actually question themselves. What did they really want to do? The time where you incubate your idea itself is a point wherein, yes, you were idle, you were alone, you had the solitude in order to figure it out for yourself. And if you look at people, or if you ask questions about people who have been on the road, it's always the backpackers who will give you a story which is really worthwhile. Reason being, they have gone through a lot of challenges while they have been on the road. And it's not tough to overcome all of these things. Think about figuring out your way in a new country or a new city wherein you don't have the upper hand. You don't know the language, you don't know how the people react, you don't know the customs. All you can pray is, I don't get killed. And that happens. That actually happens. Brings me back to an anecdote from my life, and that is, this was back in 2013 when the Taksim Square riots were happening. You guys know about that, right? So it's in Turkey regarding an environmental so and so forth, and a riot broke out. You don't know the local language. The next thing you know is your hotel lobby is bombarded with tear gas canisters. You get hit by rubber bullets. Where do you run? You run on the street. You have 14,000 people running with you. Where do you go? Do you even know somebody would help you? And people actually help you. You realize so many different things. Your entire area of miscommunications, misconceptions, all of these things are taken care of when you try to figure out countries, places, all for yourself. think about places like Iraq or even Pakistan, our immediate neighbor. We all have a very biased kind of a review or a viewpoint about these places. It is not the same. What we see through someone else's eyes is not exactly true. Now, cutting to chase here. As we grew, there are two kinds of travelers who have come up to be because of how we have grown our societies. And one is called the tourist, and the other is called the travelers. Anybody can be a tourist. It's really, really easy to be a tourist. But the only issue here is, if you are a tourist, you will go to a place with a very materialistic gauge attached to what you call happiness. For you, the better the place, the whiter the linen, or for instance, say, costlier the nightly rates, you would consider that to be a happier form of vacation. But trust me, happiness has a whole different way of playing it out, and it's not how it works. Whereas being in the shoes of a traveler, it's not that easy. But there's a very, very fine line between not being easy and really worthwhile. Being a traveler, you have the freedom to keep all your judgments back at home and look at everything on a very, very new viewpoint. You start embracing new things. You learn, you educate yourself. Traveling has answers to literally everything. Think about the times when you are sad, when you're feeling blue. What do? You go out there, take some alone time. How do you do it? Take a drive, take a walk down the park, or anything which allows you to be alone. And which is the best way to be alone? Just go out there. Leave your current spot. That's essentially what traveling is. It is a part and parcel of literally every single ounce of life that we have in us. And it's something that we all should know. It's something that we all should understand. Now, I'll quickly wrap it up. Just one little small thing here. So, the next time when you are out there on the road, take a small little advice. Instead of just looking at places, try noticing them. Instead of pushing a picture on social media, take a pause, understand, try to take it in. Trust me, it's an adventure, it's an experience which is really, really worthwhile, and you wouldn't regret it. It's obvious your friends might not be envious of you because you didn't push a picture. It's a risk worth taking because it's your journey, and you don't know how many doors you will open up if you actually utilize what life has given you. You were never there, never been brought up into this world to sit there in one place. You were always supposed to go places. You were always supposed to learn new things, explore, expand your horizons. Do not be okay, do not be, just put another word for okay, do not be satisfied with your circle of life right now. Don't care what your friends are doing around you. Try to create a path. The best way to do it is go out there and experience the place. Thank you.